All right, let's jump right in. Picture this. It's negative 20 degrees in downtown Chicago. You're in a Walgreens top ramen aisle. Tears are just silently running down your face. Snot's getting in your scarf. And you're on the phone making this desperate call to your parents saying, I just can't do it anymore.
Wow. That's quite an image to start with.
It is. And that's exactly where our main source today, a book called The Cure for Burnout, actually begins. It's the author's own breakdown moment, really, before her breakthrough. So today, we're diving deep into your sources to really pull out the most important insights on understanding burnout and maybe how to fight back against it.
Yeah, because it's so much more than just a buzzword, isn't it?
Absolutely. It's this profound exhaustion. It impacts so many lives. So our mission today is to, cut through the noise, look at the nuances of modern burnout, some surprising stuff in there, and equip you with some real actionable strategies, help you reclaim your life, find some balance.
And what's really fascinating, I think, is just how pervasive this feeling is, but also how often it gets dismissed or just sort of normalized.
Right. Everyone feels like this.
Exactly. So we'll explore why a lot of the traditional advice maybe falls short and how you can build a path forward that's actually sustainable and, tailored to your situation.
So let's start with the author's own journey into it. It sounds incredibly familiar, probably for a lot of people listening. She describes this life just dominated by a never-ending to-do list, sprinting, always sprinting from one thing to next. She even talks about looking forward to debilitating migraines.
Wow.
Just because they forced her to take a break. Professionally, she was that classic people pleaser, said yes to everything.
Always saying yes.
Yes, sacrificing health, relationships, her personal life, all to prove herself, get ahead quickly. You know the drill.
And what's really striking, reading her account, is that at first she found it difficult to even take her own burnout seriously.
Why was that?
Well, because everyone around her seemed to be going through the exact same thing. It was almost trendy, people trying to one-up each other about how overworked they were.
Oh, that busy bragging.
Exactly. That whole normalization of suffering. The source really points to that as a huge part of the problem. If everyone's feeling this way, it must just be normal life, right?
Which makes it harder to fight.
Yeah.
And you might relate to how frustrating the typical advice can be. She found online stuff, outdated social media tips were just abysmal, she said. Suggestions like meditating or yoga, they apparently filled her with rage.
Rage. Yeah, I remember reading that.
Because they just didn't connect with the sheer exhaustion she felt. And other tips, like leave work at work.
Yeah.
Well, pretty useless when work is literally in your living room now.
Totally useless in a virtual world.
But the core issue for her, and maybe for you too, was that she actually liked her job. She liked her degree. She just wished it wasn't so incredibly hard all the time.
And that really gets to the heart of how our source defines modern burnout. It's not just exhaustion, not just stress. It's also, crucially, this state of misalignment.
Misalignment. Explain that a bit more.
It's feeling like the direction your life is heading in just isn't right for you anymore, and that feeling persists for a long time. And it's usually not one big thing, but like the book says, death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Ah, those small compromises.
Exactly. Tiny compromises over time that just slowly drain your energy and your happiness.
So what does this actually look like for you, listening?
The signs can be subtle, right? At first, maybe it's just constantly thinking there's not enough time.
Always feeling behind.
Yeah, or starting to neglect things that used to bring you joy. Working through lunch becomes normal. Or that horrible feeling of drowning with a smile on your face.
Putting on a brave face while you're completely overwhelmed.
It can lead to feeling disconnected, disassociated from your own life. Even that quiet quitting phenomenon we hear about.
Right. Checking out mentally. And the impact is huge. It takes over your calendar, it hurts relationships, damages your physical health. I mean, it steals the best years of your life, really. Can cause this helplessness that feels a lot like depression.
That brings up a really important distinction, though. How is burnout different from just plain old stress? Because everyone gets stress.
That's a great question. Stress, even intense stress, it's usually short term. It's a challenge. Maybe it pushes you, but you can recover.
Okay.
Burnout feels endless, insurmountable. It's when your body's just depleted. No chance to recharge those batteries because the stress hormones are just relentless. It's deep, systemic.
Got it. A fundamentally different state.
Okay, so our sources talk about 3 main types or categories of burnout. As we go through them, you might sort of recognize yourself in one or maybe a mix.
Yeah, the first one they identify as burnout by volume. This is for people who just have way more to do than they can realistically get done.
Like drinking from a fire hose.
Exactly that analogy. The source uses Mandy, works in PR, constant demands, weekends included. Every single project feels like life or death.
Oh, yeah.
She felt like she was always behind, like a hydra, cut off one head, two grow back, one task done, two more pop up.
I know that feeling. What are the signs for this volume type?
Well, you and other people probably describe you as busy all the time. You feel resentment when someone asks for one more thing. There's zero room for error in your schedule. You get that Sunday night anxiety about the week ahead.
The Sunday scaries?
Totally. Feeling guilty if you don't jump on every single opportunity. And that story you tell yourself, oh, it's just a busy season.
That never actually ends.
Right. It just keeps rolling.
It's wild to think. The source mentions this. Back in 1930, the economist John Maynard Keynes predicted we'd be working like 15-hour weeks because of technology.
15 hours? Can you imagine? Clearly not how things turned out.
No kidding. There was a 2018 Pew Research survey. 55% of people without young kids and 75%, three-quarters of parents, felt too busy to enjoy their lives.
75%. That's staggering.
And social media just seems to pour fuel on that fire, right? Feeling like you're not doing enough, not busy enough in the right way.
It definitely adds to the pressure. Okay, so the next category is social burnout. This hits people whose energy, their social battery, is just constantly drained because they haven't managed their social limits.
So this isn't about workload, it's about people.
Primarily, yes. Think of Lisa in the source. She got so resentful, so withdrawn, she just started turning her phone off to avoid calls and texts, even from people she liked.
Wow.
It's really common in people pleasers, those who feel responsible for how everyone else feels, or people with a deep fear of being disliked. It just weighs you down.
To the point where you neglect yourself.
Absolutely. You might skip grocery shopping, lose sleep, because you're constantly saying yes to social things, prioritizing those asks over your own basic needs.
That sounds incredibly draining. You mentioned people pleasing. Does FOMO play into this too? The fear of missing out.
Oh, massively. The source connects social burnout directly to FOMO. Scientists describe it as that feeling of exclusion, plus this compulsion to stay connected, maintain relationships, even if it means sacrificing sleep or downtime.
Always feeling like you should be somewhere else, doing something else.
Exactly that constant low-level anxiety.
Okay, so volume, social. What's the third type?
The third is burnout by boredom. This is for people feeling uninspired, disengaged, just a sense of meaninglessness for a long stretch. This really hits that misalignment piece we talked about earlier.
Right, not fitting with your life's direction.
Precisely. The example is Paul, a software engineer. His values had shifted over time. He used to value status, money. Now he craved freedom, connection, calm.
But the job stayed the same.
Exactly. The job hadn't changed with him. Which raises a big question for you listening. Are your current seasonal values, what matters to you right now, actually lining up with how you spend your time day to day?
Seasonal values. I like that term. Things change. Okay, so those are the types. Now, how do we deal with them? The sources lay out 5 pillars.
Yes, 5 interconnected pillars for managing and ideally preventing burnout. Think of it like your toolkit. Mindset, personal care, time management, boundaries, and stress management.
Toolkit.
And the really key thing here is it's not one size fits all. Different stressors need different tools from the kit. And your approach has to evolve as your life changes. It's dynamic.
Got it. So let's start with pillar 1, mindset. Seems foundational.
Absolutely. The source uses this great spa example. Katie and Aaron, identical treatments. Katie loves it, totally relaxes. Aaron just ruminates, feels guilty the whole time.
Same spa, different experience, all down to mindset.
Exactly. Your mindset is like, the source says it's like another person strapped to your hip 24/7. But the good news is it's mostly learned.
Which means it can be unlearned or relearned.
Yes. For instance, beating yourself up after a mistake. That actually triggers stress hormones, makes you less sharp mentally, more likely to make another mistake. You can unlearn that harsh inner critic.
Okay, one common mindset linked to burnout is the high-achieving one, right? The author admits she was her own worst critic.
Totally. Constantly worried about being lazy, which drove her success, but, at the cost of any peace.
So what's the shift for high achievers?
Prioritizing values outside of achievement. Things that don't have to be productive, don't need praise, just things you enjoy or things that restore you. And adopting that mantra, done, is better than perfect.
That's a tough one for perfectionists.
It is, but realizing you don't need to give 100% to everything is huge. Sometimes 70% gets you the exact same outcome with way less stress.
Makes sense. But mindset isn't just internal, right? The environment matters hugely.
Oh, absolutely. Company culture is a massive driver. The source mentions Charles working crazy hours just to fit in. He saw this silent competition. Who would dare leave the office first?
And feeling ashamed if you left early, like at 6 p.m.
Right. Toxic cultures use those subtle digs, like we noted who stays late, to justify demanding more and more. It seeps into your mindset.
It's so important to remember, like the source says, your job is basically an exchange of service for money.
Fundamentally, yes.
Your company will figure things out if you leave. Those "we're a family" lines can really blur that transactional reality. It's up to you to define your relationship with work.
And that ties into another mindset trap, learned helplessness. Are you carrying old limits into new situations?
Ah, the fleas in the jar.
Exactly. The fleas keep jumping only as high as the lid used to be, even after it's gone. The message for you is, test the limits. Hit the lid of every jar you encounter, as the source puts it. Don't assume old constraints still apply.
That's a powerful image, hitting the lid. But what about real constraints? Financial worries, family duties. How much lid hitting is truly possible when someone feels genuinely trapped?
That's a really valid and important point. The source does acknowledge that external realities are real. It's not saying ignore them. The focus is on distinguishing the internal, self-imposed lids from the external ones.
So figuring out what you can actually challenge versus what needs a different approach, like acceptance or finding support.
Precisely. It's about finding your agency within your actual circumstances, not denying those circumstances exist, empowering yourself where you can.
Okay, that makes sense. Let's move to pillar 2, personal care. This feels like where the just take a bubble bath advice often comes in, but it's deeper than that, right?
Much deeper. Many people, like Ella in the source, struggle with resting guilt. This belief that rest has to be earned and too much is somehow lazy or indulgent.
Yeah, I feel that.
Combine that with the Zeigarnik effect, your brain reminding you of unfinished tasks, and you get this restless feeling even when you desperately need downtime.
Plus, modern life doesn't give us much default downtime, does it? Smartphones, constant noise.
Exactly. We equate being busy with being successful. But the research is clear. Rest and leisure aren't enemies of getting things done. They actually improve productivity.
How so?
Naps can clear your mental inbox. Even just closing your eyes briefly boosts memory. True leisure, where you're fully immersed, is incredibly restorative.
But the source also points out societal pressures.
Yeah.
Like hustle culture.
Right. Forbes called it toxic. It pushes working past your limits as a badge of honor. And then there's the wage gap.
Yeah.
Especially for women of color, often feeling they have to work twice as hard just to get half as far, makes prioritizing rest feel like an impossible luxury sometimes.
So practically, since rest isn't automatic, we have to build it in.
Proactively, yes. Start with your non-negotiables. What are the 4 absolute daily essentials you need just to feel functional? Coffee, a walk, 5 minutes alone.
Identify those first.
Then think about 3-dimensional personal care. Maintenance, basics like showering, eating, rest, actual downtime, and refill activities that energize you.
And link it back to those seasonal values.
Exactly. Use lifestyle design. Does how you're spending your personal care time align with what currently matters most to you? Like Hall realizing his job didn't fit his need for calm anymore. Maybe your refill activities need to change too.
But how do we stick to these plans? Motivation fades.
Preparation trumps motivation, the source says. Being prepared isn't half the battle, it is the battle.
Meaning?
Set things up in advance. Lay out workout clothes, prep healthy snacks, remove friction. Then maybe try gamification. Like Jeff, setting alarms for his morning warm-up and evening wind-down. Make it a routine, maybe even fun.
And accountability. Does that help?
It depends. Some people thrive with external pressure, workout buddies, check-ins. Others, like the author, actually do better without it. You need to know your cup of drive, what actually motivates you.
Know thyself.
Okay.
Pillar 3, time management. This feels crucial for burnout by volume.
Definitely. A really simple but effective tool here is the prioritization matrix. Urgent versus important.
The Eisenhower matrix.
That's the one. It forces you to see that not everything is urgent and important. You prioritize the urgent important, schedule the important not urgent, figure out how to manage the urgent and important. Do it quick. Delegate it, reset expectations.
And eliminate the not urgent, not important stuff.
Exactly. Get it off your plate entirely.
And for you listening, time blocking can be great. Actually putting blocks in your calendar for specific tasks ensures your time matches your priorities, visually.
Yeah, and distinguishing your main to-do list, the real priorities from your shit list. All those little distracting tasks helps protect your focus. Don't let the shit list derail your important work.
Protect that flow state.
Right. Which leads to thinking about your ideal working conditions. When do you do your best work?
Like William in The Source, deep work in the morning, collaboration later.
Yeah. He figured out his rhythm, and his team agreed to respect focused work blocks. Everyone became more efficient because they weren't constantly interrupting each other during deep work times.
So communicating those needs is key.
Absolutely. And using sprints and breaks. Work focused for a set time, maybe just 25 minutes, seems less daunting than hours.
Pomodoro technique, basically.
Similar idea, but crucially, the breaks need to be real breaks. Step away, stretch, move your body, not scrolling social media.
Because scrolling isn't actually restful for the brain.
Not at all. These mini breaks, done right, actually boost your focus when you return to the task.
Okay, pillar 4, boundaries. This feels like a big one for many people.
Huge and often subtle. The source talks about Tina noticing these yellow flags, anxiously checking her phone, monitoring emails when she was supposed to be off.
Hedging about whether she had free time.
Right. She realized her actual workload wasn't the problem. It was the constant, unpredictable messages from her manager, blurring all the lines. That was the real energy drain.
That makes so much sense. But setting boundaries is hard. What's the underlying fear?
Often, it's a deep biological fear of rejection and identity loss. We're wired for acceptance. Emotional pain from rejection can feel like physical pain.
So we avoid it.
We learn to avoid it. But the source reframes boundaries powerfully. They aren't a rejection. They're an invitation to keep the relationship going, just without resentment building up.
It's about your capacity, not your capability. I like that.
Exactly. You could do it, but you don't have the capacity right now.
One really tough boundary concept was letting broken things break.
Mm.
Can you explain that?
Yeah, it's counterintuitive. Think of the teacher always covering for the missing crossing guard, or the employee manually fixing data because the software is broken.
So the school never hires a guard, the company never fixes the software.
Because it's getting done, someone is picking up the slack. The source argues that sometimes you have to strategically step back and let the natural consequence happen to force a real fix.
But isn't that risky, especially at work? Could you lose your job?
It can be risky, absolutely. It's not about suddenly dropping the ball on everything critical. It's about identifying where your overfunctioning is enabling a dysfunctional system. It often requires careful planning. Maybe you need savings, an updated resume, a conversation with your boss about unsustainable workload before you let something minor break. It's strategic, not reckless. You create the conditions where you can let it break.
Okay, it's a calculated move, not just giving up. So how do we actually set boundaries, especially with bosses or people higher up?
It's intimidating, for sure, but stating facts helps. That report takes at least 2 hours to create, isn't an opinion, it's a reality of the task. The source gives a boundary toolkit.
Ooh, tools. Good.
First, creating space. Don't say yes immediately. Say, let me check my calendar, I'll get back to you. Buys you time, primes the boundary.
Simple but effective.
If-then statements. Pre-plan your responses. If Uncle Bob asks about politics, then I will change the subject to his garden.
Reduces in-the-moment stress.
Stating the obvious. When we discuss finances, we always argue. Let's not talk about that tonight. Clear, direct.
And setting expectations and reaching consensus. Especially good across personality types.
Yeah. I need your part by Tuesday, close of business. Does that work? Then follow up in writing. Creates clarity.
Good tips. The source also mentions practicing and getting support.
Yes. Practice saying your boundary phrase out loud. And use allies. The CSC tactic is great loop in a trusted colleague who can gently reinforce a deadline or confirm your contribution if needed.
Builds a little backup.
Exactly. And be aware of cultural influences. In more collectivist cultures, like the Hispanic culture mentioned, setting individual boundaries, especially with family, can feel extra fraught.
More pressure for group harmony.
Right. But even there, the core idea holds, I am not available doesn't mean I don't care about you. Reasonable people can understand capacity limits.
Okay, final pillar. Stress management. How's this different from personal care?
Personal care is more about proactive building of resilience and restoration. Stress management here is more about dealing with stress as it happens or in anticipation of it.
Got it.
Chronic stress messes with our brain chemistry, like depleting dopamine. Our bodies go into fight or flight. Knowing your typical stress style is key. Are you fight? Dive in. Freeze. Tense up. Or flight, need escape.
How does knowing help?
The author realized she was a flight type. So in arguments, she learned to take space instead of escalating. When overwhelmed by social media, she'd step away, not delete everything impulsively. It informs your coping strategy.
So you can manage stress proactively by knowing your style,
Mm.
like the tax accountant example.
Exactly. She knew busy season was stressful, fight response needed for work. So she proactively told people she'd be unavailable, flight boundary, and physically left the house on weekends to separate mentally,
Right.
flight boundary combo.
Managing the predictable stress. What about day-to-day hurdles?
Counteract our natural negativity bias. We dwell on the bad stuff. The source suggests adopting a kind of that's showbiz baby attitude for minor things.
Like, okay, that happened, moving on.
Pretty much. Stops you from wallowing unnecessarily. Also, avoid emotional labor where you don't need to.
Meaning managing everyone's feelings all the time.
Yeah, or overanalyzing simple feedback, making up stories about why someone seemed abrupt. Just separate facts from your feelings and the story you're telling yourself about it.
That takes practice.
It does. 2 final quick tools. A tangible versus intangible list. If a stressor is tangible, you can do something about it. List the action. If it's intangible, an emotion, a worry you can't act on now, acknowledge it, but don't let it hijack your focus.
Park it mentally.
Right, and compartmentalizing. Focus fully on one thing, then mentally close the door on it before moving to the next. Don't let stress from one area bleed into everything else. The more you think about a stressor, the source says, the more kindling you throw on that flame.
Stop feeding the fire. Okay, so those are the 5 pillars. Mindset, personal care, time management, boundaries, stress management. But what if? What if you do all this, you try really hard, you implement feasible changes, and you're still just miserably burned out in your job?
That's the ultimate question, isn't it? When is it time to just leave? The source offers this really sharp question to ask yourself. Would any amount of feasible change make this job bearable for you?
Feasible being the key word there.
Exactly. Not fantasy changes, but realistic ones. If the honest answer is no, then you might just be delaying the inevitable. The author described her own exit as lots of tiny moments, adding up until she just knew, deep down, it was time to quit and save herself.
That deep understanding. But leaving is scary. And you don't want to jump from the frying pan into the fire, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you avoid landing in another burnout job?
Great question. The source advises looking for universal indicators of burnout culture before you even accept a new offer.
Red flags to watch for.
High turnover is a big one. Check LinkedIn. Glassdoor, do people stay long? Is leadership untrained or constantly overwhelmed? Are current or former employees expressing dissatisfaction online?
Do your homework.
Absolutely. And then in the interviews, ask pointed questions. Don't be afraid.
Like what?
Why is this position actually vacant? How would you describe your own work-life balance? That's a good one to ask the hiring manager.
Ooh, yeah. Puts them on the spot a bit.
And maybe, how do leaders here model time management and boundaries? Their answers or evasiveness will tell you a lot about the real culture behind the PR speak.
That's really practical advice. Okay, so bringing this all together, mastering these 5 pillars, it's not like a one-time fix.
Not at all.
Yeah.
The source calls it an ongoing dance.
A dance.
Yeah. It's not about perfect steps all the time. It's about learning to shift confidently, adjust your balance as the music of your life changes. The author talks about using all 5 pillars to navigate her own recent busy period slow mornings, personal care, strategic no's, boundaries, managing her mindset, etc.
It's an integrated practice.
Exactly. Burnout isn't a death sentence. It's maybe a really firm tap on the shoulder. Okay, maybe a shove sometimes.
A shove to pay attention.
Yeah. Pay attention because something in your life needs to change, fundamentally.
So what this really means for you, listening, is that you do have the power. You can make tough changes. You can design a life that actually serves you instead of constantly draining you.
And remember, this is the only life you get. It's absolutely worth making those hard changes to feel like you're actually living it, not just enduring it.
So the final thought for you to mull over.
What is one single small step, just one that you can take today to honor your own capacity and maybe reclaim just a little piece of your peace?